and see how these will go for these two amazing players and amazing persons as well. Spawning in the top right hand corner of Oxide is a blue Zerg player playing for our very own lovely team of Alpha X. It is Ragnarok.
And spawning here at the bottom left corner of the map is the red Terran player. Give it up for BYUN. Size matters in the chat saying, sadly, no Protosses to be seen. And yeah, it's kind of reminiscent of the year 2020, where I think it has been a pretty sad year for Protoss, results-wise. And it's kind of being reflected here on this last of Alpha X event of the year. This is going to be the last, kind of, I think, event stream for Alpha X before the year 2021. So yeah, kind of ironic.
Finally, this year ends.
I know, right?
Yeah, and not only for Protoss. I mean, it feels most like Zerg and Terran players have kind of stepped up their game, and Protoss players kind of have not. We also lost one of the probably strongest Protoss players ever with a Classic going into the military. So that also hurts the performance of Protoss worldwide. Losing a player such as Classic is a very hard for the meta. So yeah, Classic, we miss you, guy. You miss you, man.
Yeah, it seems
such a local player.
It seems like Trap has kind of emerged and took a Classic's place. Although we also, to add on top of that, SOS has declined this year, hasn't had the greatest year as well. So that doesn't help the kind of the front hold of Protoss. But you know what? Hopefully 2021 we might see some Protoss kind of emerge a bit, give a better fight. But yeah, we shall see.
Talking about players, I've actually been thinking, man, I do miss this player. Man, Gumiho.
Oh yeah.
It's so somewhat easy to forget this guy has not been playing for this year, going to the military as well. Gumiho was such a good player for the meta with his crazy mech play. And to the way that Terran has been going this year, I would have loved to see some Gumiho games.
Yes,
so
same here.
Sad not to have him in the scene as well.
Definitely. I mean, he was one of the more consistent mech players out of the Terran, so I think we would have all loved to see Gumiho play, or at least get back quickly to the StarCraft scene.
Yeah. Well, we will see. Looking at Protoss, I think also Hero went to the military this year. I think those are the 3 players that went into the military this year. So another Protoss player, which was a very interesting one to watch. Not one you were supposed to see maybe at a semifinals of a GSL tournament, but one who can really take some big heads out of tournaments for some unknown reasons with his weird aggressive playstyle. It was quite a good player to watch as well. But let's go back to this game, because both players are kind of going for something wonky somewhat. Like, we see BYUN going for a 2-1-1 opener, not walling off his ramp at the beginning and just pushing out a ton of Marines. On the other side, Ragnarok has not been making a drone for quite a while. He has now 11 buildings at his opponent's doorstep.
Oh, man.
He knows there are no Widow Mines, he knows there are no tanks. Ragnarok been playing the matchup quite efficiently. Let's see how this building bust will go. More Zerglings making their way through the map. The army of BYUN is nowhere near here. He's in the middle of nowhere, and the Banelings will just come rolling past. The wall is up, and now these Zerglings can easily get in. No more reactor for that starport, and the Zerglings are in the mineral line. They will start fighting SCBs, and 10 of them have already been killed. The last few will fall, but that was not looking good for BYUN. This is still a Baneling boss. This is still pretty crazy all in, but Ragnarok has 40 workers behind this. It's mind-numbing how well he can do with this crazy all in and still have a powerful economy behind it.
Yeah. Once again, Ragnarok trying to go for some aggressions once he sees the move out of the medevacs. Unfortunately, the wall is immediately built there by BYUN, so won't suffer the death of the counterattack. We've seen so many Terran players just lose to that. Here we go. The 2 medevac drops commencing right now. And ooh, gotta be careful.
Ooh, that was a very close call, and now the Medivacs cannot get into the main. He doesn't know if there are queens there. Ragnarok has already placed 2, and he cannot afford to lose 1 Medivac. He will be way too behind. Ragnarok, with that, with those Zerglings trying to hacking at the wall, he bought himself a lot of time for a lot of Banelings to be made. He still doesn't have a lair, and he still doesn't have Baneling speed. Oh my god, that one Medivac will easily fall, and that's a disaster for BYUN. He's gonna lose so many Marines if he's not careful, and now so many Banelings have been made already. Ragnarok. Oh man, that's what I want to see from him in this series.
Yeah, now he's researching centrifugal hooks. Now, I don't think it's going to be finished in time before this secondary wave attack. But look at that, only 1 tank. Not that quite scary. I think, the Terran player will want to have at least like around 3 or more tanks to make it really scary. But with only 1, I don't see Ragnarok having too much trouble dealing with this.
Yeah, these Marines heading on top of creep just down this ramp, trying to get the best engagement possible, but Ragnarok has already pre-split his army. He's already getting ready for, sorry for this wordplay. He's already getting there with his Zerglings to do us around and get on top of the tank up. But these queens are kind of struggling right now. 2 of them already falling. Now it's the time for the drones. But these Banelings are so high in number that BYUN cannot kill them all at once. Now the tanks are, the tank is a little bit focused with the Banelings, but it looks like BYUN has been able to out-micro his opponent and get all of the queens. Banelings come rolling past, but not fast enough. These are slow Banelings, and Ragnarok found himself between a rock and a hard place. The Medivacs are still standing, it's not much bio here anymore. These Zerglings can get around, but this tank has been quite the survivor this far. He finally falls down, but this was not the best trade possible for Ragnarok by any means.
Yeah, I gotta give my apologies to BYUN. I mean, I said that I did not expect Ragnarok having too much trouble dealing with it, but when you micro like a god, like BYUN just did, you can do significant damage. And now he's enjoying a 103 to 82 overall supply lead.
This is just crazy. This guy has been able to just do insane things, even from the armies that were not looking strong. Of course, Ragnarok will tap out. He was not producing drones for quite a while. BYUN was having the better of him in every single trade engagement and trade. And man, that was rough. Ragnarok taking a head start just to be head-butted by BYUN very, very hard.
Yeah. Oh man. And it was not the worst position for Ragnarok too. Remember, he did
Absolutely.
Yeah, he did do decent damage in the early game with the Baneling bus. He was pretty ahead in the terms of the worker count. Just needed to defend that attack there on his dirt base. Just wasn't able to efficiently defend it.
It was just as you were saying, when you micro like a god, anything can happen in your games. Ragnarok, it was so prepared. It was so prepared for anything. And it still wasn't enough. BYUN is just an incredible player. Every time I watch this man play, I'm always incredibly impressed. It's easy to forget how he's strong with his macro, how he comes back from impossible situation. And this situation, while being very harsh on him, wasn't impossible at all. And as you've seen, unless it is impossible for BYUN, it will win. So, yeah, it's such a tough player to face.
Yeah,
Thank you very much,
definitely.
Size Matters. Hope you have a great new year too.
All right, here we go. Second game here on the map of Romanticide LE.
And in the top left-hand corner, losing the first set of the series after a very promising start. He plays for Alpha X. Can he tie the score? Can he do it? Can he get into the finals? It is Ragnarok.
And spawning here at the bottom right corner of the map, it is the red Terran player. Hailing from Korea, make some noise for BYUN. Alright.
Is a very interesting map for this matchup specifically. It can get very wild. But man, I do feel like this is not the best map for BYUN. It's way too big.
Yeah, but you gotta remember that game he played against Cero on this exact same map. That was
rough.
that was crazy game, and by the skin of his teeth, the BYUN was able to pull out that win. But boy, that could have gone either way. That was such an epic, I think a contender for game of the year, and BYUN just managed to win that. So we'll see if Ragnarok has better luck this time around.
Certainly could win game of the year if SOS didn't decide to build a Nexus in Bunny's base and recall 2 Duck Templars in it. Yeah, that happened, guys. First USL of the year, that happened.
Alright, so pretty much a standard opening from both players. Going to be interesting to see if BYUN goes for that same 2 medevac marine drop, which is a pretty old school build. You don't really see it quite as often as you did in the past, but definitely still in the I guess the meta rounds. BYUN, I think most noticeably, kind of pulled that back into the meta once he came back, and he's showing that it can still work somewhat. Didn't quite do too much damage with it, but the follow-up kind of sealed the deal for him.
Yeah, it's the follow-up to be the real scary part. And BYUN just macroing like that, he can make the most out of every single marine. Would not go for the 2-1-1 this time, as you were saying. We'll go for a 1-1-1. And it makes sense on this map due to the large distance you have to fly through with your medevacs before getting any significant damage. But in the end, it will mean that Ragnarok will have a little bit more time to establish his position. His position is 14 Zerglings, apparently. So, I'm kind of confused, not gonna lie. And I would love him to make drones and get into the late game, because that's where I feel Ragnarok shines. But maybe it doesn't feel the same.
I mean, I'm not too mad about this decision because, I mean, the ramp is like pretty wide open, but oh my god, actually going through the middle, that's not the greatest call. I would have loved to see him kind of go down to the south side, wait for the Hellions to move out, spot the Hellion move out with the Overlords in the middle, and then go in with those Lings. But instead, he just went through the middle and just like got greeted with a bunch of Hellions.
It felt like he showed his hand a little bit too early, and now he's gonna easily pay the consequences for that. BYUN easily knows there's no billion nets, there were way too many Zerglings out there. And it looks like Ragnarok will go for quite a big wall-off over here. Oh, Ragnarok? Yeah, you need another Evo chamber there, but never mind. It looks like BYUN will be going through the third with his medevac full of marines. We'll start unloading just in the main. Ragnarok, very quick reactions, making Zerglings out of the main. Good call. But BYUN is already starting to head into something different. 6 aliens already out, already out there to get some damage done. And meanwhile, Banshee Cloak and a few Banshees in production. That can be interesting.
Yeah, I think what BYUN is trying to do is kind of pull Ragnarok's queens to maybe the dirt base and then attack the natural with the Banshees, the Cloak Banshees. Right now he does take down a queen, just barely getting the second one before the transfuse there.
And Ragnarok has a healthy amount of queens. That means that getting queens is not that easy. And it can snowball easily into something much more damaging. Not doing this yet, but BYUN is setting up for a pretty strong map control with Medivac on one side, Aliens on the other, and even Banshees ready to head into the mineral lines as soon as Ragnarok is distracted. This is not a game that their player can do a single mistake, because BYUN's setup is very, very powerful.
Yeah, it seems like he kind of missed one cycle of Banshee, so the Banshee's attack is going to actually commence a bit later than usual. But he does go ahead and cloak them, and he should be able to maybe take one or two drones out, but there is a Spore Caller as well as a Queen Park there, so shouldn't lose too many drones.
Yeah, of course the usual 3 or 4 are kind of mandatory every single time, and now these Banshees are just slightly outside of the Spore Caller range. I mean, they are forcing a cancel the extractor. No, they are not, but it was very close. One of the Banshees is almost out of energy. The Queens are getting dangerously close. And man, I hate when their players do not connect quick from main into natural. These Queens are taking a lifetime getting into the main. And so many things are happening at once. Marines dropping on one side. The Banshees getting 10 drones. And the Marines are still there standing. This Medivac will finally be cleared by one of the Spore Caller. But BYUN has dealt so much damage with so little units.
Yeah, look at that. 10 drones, 12 lings, and 1 queen, as well as the Overlord going down for only 6 Marines, 2 Banshees, and the Medivac. So a very great trade there for the Red Terran here.
Yeah, and now BYUN needs to be careful with those aliens. These Zerglings are getting around them, but they're finding this spot near the extractor will grant him a couple more Zerglings skills before the aliens eventually are blown up. BYUN setting up his attack now, and even those 2 tanks, very lonely tanks, are still such a threat in the hands of this player.
Oh man, that was a little bit unfortunate there for BYUN. I think adding those Hellions into this army would have made it such a much more deadlier attack, especially with Ragnarok going for a Ling and Baneling composition. And now the Mutalisks are out and about, or at least in the production, about to pop out. We'll see if he has enough to deal with what BYUN has. Now, the good thing is that Centrifugal Hooks is about to be done. That's going to definitely help out during the engagement.
Last one upgrade just being finished by BYUN before heading into this third archery of his opponent. Centrifugal Hooks, as you were saying, just about to finish, and when it does, his Banelings will come rolling past. Focus fire on these Banelings by the tanks. Man, BYUN is such an incredible player, not letting any of those Banelings get anywhere close to his army. Meanwhile, Ragnarok will strike back with a lot of mutants. There's a bunch of Marines ready to greet them, and the army of BYUN on the other side of the map, while being very thin, is still there standing with every single member of it still up. BYUN's not being having the greatest time against these mutants. He's gonna lose 7 SCVs. His units are kind of stuck, but that's so much army for BYUN. So much. That fight, that one fight, man, those tanks were hurting like a truck.
Man.
Incredible player.
So good. I can't help but feel, though, that Ragnarok just made the wrong call, just retreating with those Lings and Banelings. Like, he was right on top of the Lings and tanks already. You might as well go for it, right? If you're going to retreat, then that's extra pot shots for those tanks. So I would have... I think I would have loved to see him just go for it instead of just going retreat and playing so passive, especially since he didn't really get too much damage with those Mutalisks across the map. And unfortunate there for Ragnarok. And now BYUN is going to head into game number 3 with a 2-0 lead, similar to the previous series between Dream and Solar, where Dream headed into game number 3 with a 2-0 lead. We'll see if Ragnarok can at least put a point on the scoreboard, but the Dern map will take place on Pillars of Gold.
And we were talking about the Terrans before we began the first series of today. These Terran players have been just popping off lately, and Ragnarok and Solar have been struggling quite a little bit too much. BYUN, overall, incredible player in every single matchup. But man, seeing him play TVZ is just something out of this world.
It's a beauty to behold.
Absolutely. Set number 3 of this already beautiful series. Once again, it's the Zer player spawning at the top right hand corner. It's him who is at his lifeline 3 in a row to make it to the finals. Will he be able to top the beast that his opponent is? Playing for Alpha X, it is Ragnarok.
And spawning here at the bottom left corner of the map, he is the red Terran player, playing for no team at all but himself. Give it up for BYUN.
No best team than yourself, right?
Yeah.
And you and yourself, should have said.
Now it could sound a little bit dirty when you say, him playing with himself.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't want to get there, but
yeah, but playing for himself, that's a different phrase.
Yeah. He's a strong and independent player.
All right, so interestingly enough, no proxies so far throughout these past 3 games, but to be honest, BYUN hasn't really needed to. I'm sure that if the series was a bit more, I guess, competitive in terms of the scoreboard, maybe BYUN would be pulling out a proxy, but so far, I don't think he really needs to, especially since I think on paper, BYUN is considered more of a stronger player. So when you're playing against theoretically on paper, a weaker player, going for proxies, I think doesn't really give the advantage more so. I think playing a straight out standard maybe macro game would be more beneficial for BYUN.
Yeah, it's always the same story of if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and BYUN has been having quite a great time getting those mid-game engagements and stopping Ragnarok before he can do anything significant. So I feel like this game will be similar to the other 2 for how BYUN will plan it out. Now, execution can be a whole different matter, especially if Ragnarok decides to plan this a little bit differently to adapt to his opponent's strength and weaknesses, even if there are very few weaknesses. So I'm more interested to see how Ragnarok will plan this out compared to BYUN. BYUN will probably just go for something very similar. While Ragnarok doesn't really have to do these aggressive link styles he's been doing in the past 2 games.
Well, it looks like BYUN did a little bit of a deviation. He didn't open with that initial Reaper, so gonna go ahead and dedicate the extra gas to a quicker factory as well as a starport. So we might see a looks like a Hellion drop of some sort. Maybe.
Totally possible. Maybe even some kind of a Marines and Alba push.
Oh yeah.
Totally possible if he decides to drop down an armory. Not really the kind of player who drops armories just like that. He prefers to have like things like Steam and something. He's gonna add a tech lab, in fact. But this doesn't mean that this attack can get scary. It's gonna be 4 Hellions on one side and this Mediac on the other. He's gonna fight for map control just like he did on Romanticide. Oh, and there's a Liberator this time though, no Banshees.
Ah, okay, so looks like he is going to go ahead and do kind of a two-prong attack here with the Medevac Marine drop, and then also heading in with the Hellion, and eventually probably the Liberator at some point in the game.
Yeah, those are steamless Marines, so they will not stand their ground against these many Zerglings. Getting even just this Overlord is already quite a little bit of damage that gets in there just really. And with the Liberator coming shortly, he can get somewhere. I can see BYUN's aggression granting him a little bit of an early advantage somewhere. Even though these aliens not quite able to get anything done really. I think they got one drone.
Got some, I think got 2 Overlords, maybe get some creep tumors as well. But we do see Liberator making his way across the map. Hellion is going to go ahead and dive in here onto the dirt. And what does he have? Nothing pretty much. The Queens are watering their way back to defend, but that means that there is nothing to the... Oh, actually, never mind. There is a Spore Color right underneath that Liberator. We'll take it out with ease.
BYUN slipped a little bit too hard in there and just sent his Liberator to its death without him being able to get even one single shot. And not the most important unit to lose, of course, but it's always nice when you can force your opponent's attention away from his plan. And Ragnarok plan just been working out greatly, and it seems like this time he's been focusing a little bit more on quick spread, a little bit more on economy. Oh, this hatchery is in a very tough spot. Okay, it's gonna get cancelled. And now he's gonna make a few units he needs, since he knows BYUN is gonna play this aggressively. He has centrifugals incoming, and I would love him to rush that infestation beat and just get into the later stages. Maybe even add an Hydroden, a Lurkoden. If your opponent is playing traditionally, why not just drop an Hydroden, get 10 to 15 Hydras, and play traditionally as well?
Oh, there's a little bit of a blind spot here where the Marines are going to be able to land in their feet. Will he get the hatchery though?
Ooh, no, I don't think so. Look at him go though. Hydroden. This is a fuck. Alright, Medivac is gonna fall 2 queens with that, man, I don't think that's worth. But Ragnarok is gonna be pretty much able to slow down any kind of aggression that BYUN can set up for now. And waiting for the big, scary army to come up. He's gonna get those Hydrali stand upgrades. Other Banelings are still slow Banelings. They will get smashed by Widow Mines and Marines. So Ragnarok knows better, waits a little bit more. But on the other side of the map, he has a million Zerglings trying to get damage done. Widow Mines will get more Marines killed than they kill Zerglings. But just forcing BYUN to go back home is already a win situation for the Zerg player. This is already looking like kind of a different game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, at the very least, he bought himself enough time to start getting that Hydralisk attack as well as the upgrades as well. And the thing though is that he probably needs to start spraying that creep, because right now BYUN has done a really great job in kind of recessing the creep. So with the remaining queens that he has, which it looks like he has 4 queens out there at least, should be able to start respreading those creeps.
We don't mind. Oh my goodness! Yeah, that's not great. Get that Widow on. Finally. Alright, that's not many Banelings, but that's quite a sizable amount of Hydras. The Widowmine shot was not the greatest, still got quite a fair amount of Zerglings. But BYUN forced to back off once more. And to be honest, Banelings and Widowmine not the best thing ever. And but to be honest, Ragnarok is getting into quite a good spot. Not to say that he's ahead by any means, because BYUN can turn any single situation into just a devastating loss for his opponent. But he has the pieces of the puzzle right where he needs. That I would say. His Lurker Den is late, his Hive is late, his Infestation Pit is late. But it is understandable that you want to slow down these things playing against BYUN, because you have to have some kind of army advantage, otherwise it will just wreck you. Banelings off creep, not the best against BYUN. I will say that. Argalists are gonna try to make their way around. They're gonna stop the Winomans before they can take any shot, but that was risky.
Yeah, so far Ragnarok defending both fronts pretty relatively well, and hasn't suffered too much damage, and now he's gonna finally throw down that Lurker Den.
And the Infestation Pit, he needs those Vipers. Blinding Clouds against a micro player such as Ragnarok can be devastating when put down at the right moment. He's gonna try and trade some of his army now that he's almost maxed out. This is a risky maneuver. Oh, these Widow Mines from BYUN getting just so much damage. There's not enough Banelings to face his army up here. These micro by BYUN, just look at him. Banelings, what are you doing? Just run into that death. And now BYUN will be, oh my god, and as I said, is a bunch of Banelings just get on every single one of his bio units, dropping down the supply of the Terran like flies. Alright, these Hydras are still standing, getting damage done, and man, I'm so sorry Ragnarok, this was a beautiful attack. Even Widow Mines couldn't stop this crazy damage happening. And now the Lurker Den is done, and there is no tank inside for BYUN. This is not gonna be an easy hold if Ragnarok decides to fully commit into this.
Yeah, looks like he is ready to pounce on this base here. Going from two sides, actually. Got one army group into the right and one army group into the left. And so he is going to go ahead and try to sandwich this somewhat, or at least just go for the dirt base.
BYUN's production cannot keep up with these many Banelings rolling through everything. Baneling micro from Ragnarok surpassing the focus micro from BYUN this time. And it looks like it's not time yet for our finals, guys. Ragnarok stands his ground and gets his first game of the series.
And that's exactly what he needs. He needs to get the points rolling. Maybe he can get a 2-game winning streak, push it to a 5th and decisive game. But at the very least, Ragnarok will keep his tournament hopes alive.
Yeah, and I loved him deciding to go for the Hydra Limbane style, getting for that kind of a timing when you're ready to drop down the Lurker Den, the Hive, the Infestation Pit, all those pieces together. You need some supply, you can trade efficiently, you can lose some of your army, you can replace it quickly, and he made a very tough decision, and it paid out so well in the end.
Yeah, and we gotta give credit to Ragnarok defending in the early game. Didn't suffer too much damage against all the harass that BYUN was going for. Remember, he was dropping with the Marines. He was harassing with the Hellions at the third. I mean, just attacks everywhere, left and right. And Ragnarok handled that well and was able to push it to the mid game, where he was able to tech into Hydralisk tech and then eventually into Lurkers. We didn't quite see the Lurker tech play out, but he didn't really need it. At the very least, he was able to get the Hydralisk out and about.
Alright. It's not over yet. These men spawning in the bottom right hand side of Lightshade has been showing us that he is in business now. Can he do it twice more and get into the finals? Let's see. It is Alpha X's very own Ragnarok.
And spawning here at the top left corner of the map, he is the red Terran player. Still enjoying a 2-1 lead. Can he close it out? Give it up for BYUN. Looks like Ragnarok playing a bit extra safe here. Gonna go ahead and send that that drone to just scout the outskirts of his natural, make sure there is no shenanigans happening. And unfortunately for him, BYUN is not proxying.
Yeah. Always tough to make the call to send one of your drone scouting ahead. You can slow down by quite a bit, but in the end, it's always worth in case there's something ugly coming at you. And BYUN, in this scenario, you could have very well proxied. I feel like Ragnarok had a very smart call there by deciding to check for anything. Oh, BYUN. Quick reactor. Once more. Alright, not a second Rex. It's gonna be a factory. But it is a quick reactor nonetheless.
Yeah, so pretty much going for the same build that he did last game. We might see him try to attempt to go for that same attack once again and hope for better luck this time around, but we shall see if he can micro a bit better and find an opening that he can expose.
Well, it is a very different map. Much shorter, much wider in some areas, much easier to abuse some distances. So I can see him perform a little bit better with the same build. But man, Ragnarok have played such an incredible game number 3. BYUN needs to do better. He cannot stop playing like a god. He needs to play like a god to beat his opponent. Why is this thing in the air right now? Oh, right, of course, to kill the overlord.
Yeah, we see BYUN sometimes do that actually. He's one of the few Terran players that seems to actually do this. Just doesn't want, you know, a pervy overlord, you know, over his shoulders. But yeah, he does.
I mean, he also canceled the orbiter command for that. So.
Yeah, it's a little bit delayed.
Well, to each their own, I guess. And if he's been playing so greatly this far, maybe he's right and we're wrong, right?
Yeah. Oh, actually, we do see an army coming down here for BYUN. So pretty much a similar opening, but a different variation of this. This time around, going to turn those Hellions into Hellbats. It's going to probably be a Marine Hellbat timing.
And I love it on Light Shade. It can be so deadly if performed in the right way. And he's been making so many aliens as well. Like right now he's gonna go up to the count of 6. He's a little bit supply blocked for the time being, but 2 more are coming. And I really want to see if he decides to wait for them or not. On the other side, we have Ragnarok going for an early Carapace upgrade. We see also BYUN getting that cloak and getting a Banshee out. This is a very dangerous attack, but now the Hellbats have made their way through the map, ready to get on top of these Queens. A quick surround, Queens on all sides against BYUN's Hellbats, but they will not transfuse each other. Ragnarok will not have it. Build order victory, but a victory nonetheless. BYUN is your second finalist of today's tournament.